This is Mr. MegaManFan. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You know all the things to do. I've got a Blueberry PS4 controller here. This was an exceptionally good find at the time because they normally go for $40 to $60 on the secondary market. However, when I picked it up, it wasn't working. As you can see here, when I push the PS button, nothing happens. When I try to put it into pairing mode with the PS and the share button, nothing happens. And I've tried leaving it overnight plugged in to charge it, and it doesn't seem to take a charge. So I thought, well, I know the solution for that. I've seen YouTube videos on replacing the battery, and it doesn't seem like it's that hard to do. So I bought this kit, which came in a very Dexter-themed box from Amazon. Not really necessary, but I get they have to promote it. So here's the kit, which is the same one that I've seen in PS4 controller repair videos. So I had a feeling if it was good for other people, it would be good for me as well. And we're going to open the box and make sure that the correct contents are inside. There should be 2 batteries because it's a 2-piece kit. They're each in a separate little white box. And then there's a screwdriver and a pry tool so that you can get between the cracks of the PS4 controller seam and the other half and pry it apart. That's what this little blue gizmo here is for. It's just a pry tool to separate the plastic, which you need for things that are a tight fit like this. But let's take a look at the battery itself. A pretty standard lithium-ion battery, which actually comes with 2 different plugs, so apparently works in more than just this PlayStation 4. It's generic enough that you can use it with other controllers or maybe other PS4 controllers that have a different plug on the inside. But either way, it comes with 2 leads for plugging it into whatever you're going to use it with. So I'm not worried about the compatibility here. Again, this is the one that was recommended. So I've got nothing to lose. The controller is already dead. Can't make things worse by taking it apart. And it's nice to have a screwdriver that actually fits for these little screws instead of having to dig for one and find one that matches. That is the nice thing when you buy these battery repair kits, is that they usually come with a little screwdriver that matches the screws of the controller you're trying to fix. And this is actually one of the better screwdrivers that I've gotten in one of these kits because it actually has a rotating head so that you don't have to turn the whole thing. You could just turn the head with the yellow section that you see there. You can just spin it with your thumb and your forefinger and rotate the screws in or out, which is pretty handy. As you can see here, I've pried it apart, and now we're into the guts where the dead battery is, or at least what I thought was the dead battery. Now it turns out the battery may not have been the issue after all. The videos I've watched about it were, however, explicit about removing the battery gently, because apparently the battery connector is soldered onto the board, and if you try to pry the battery connection out with too much force, you can rip it off the board itself. So it said, go side to side, wiggle, and pull slowly, which is exactly what I'm doing here, because I don't want to make things any worse than they already are. So I took my time and went slowly. But it also reminds me of the connector plugs that I used to see inside of computers, so I have a little bit of familiarity with this style of plug and how to approach it. And as you can see, the old battery has been successfully removed. And it's on a little plastic tray, I guess you would say, that holds the battery in place and keeps it from making direct contact with the rest of the controller, which is probably a safety feature that Sony designed into PS4 controllers, and I'm okay with that. After all, lithium batteries do tend to expand over time when they've worn down the amount of charges they can hold, so I think taking precautions is generally advisable. If you ever see an old cell phone that's bulging, you probably don't want to keep using that. You need to get that battery out as fast as possible and either replace it or just, if you're inclined, get a new phone, upgrade, whatever. I'm not telling you how to live your life. Anyway, here I go with putting the tray back into the controller with the new battery placed into the slot, and now I have to very gently wiggle that cord back into the plug connection to make contact with the battery. And I didn't really feel like I had got it all the way in there until I heard a satisfying little click that told me I had pushed the connector firmly into place. I'm going to try to time my narration to the point where it did click in so that you can hear that sound for yourself and know what it should sound like when you're doing this yourself. It's not like it's super loud or anything, but it's definitely a click that tells you the plug went into the connection, and you'll feel it as well as hear it. You'll know that it's solid once you've done it. Did you hear the little snap there? That's how I know I got it all the way in. And I've reassembled it now. All 4 screws are back into place, but the fact that the bottom right screw looked a little rusty maybe should have been my indication that simply replacing the battery wasn't going to help, because there may have been some internal corrosion or water damage from being left in some pool of liquid at some point, because this is non-responsive even with a new battery. I've used 2 different PS4 charging cords to eliminate that variable, and it doesn't take a charge even with the new battery. And putting it into pairing mode, it doesn't start blinking. It's just dead. I think this controller was always going to be a bust, but you know what? It's still shelf candy. I'll still put it on display because Blueberry controllers are a rare breed indeed. It was worth a try to see if I could get it going, but it was not meant to be. This is Mr. MegaManFan saying, hey, at least you've learned how to replace a battery in a PS4 controller if you want to do this yourself. It just didn't help me get this particular controller working, but I'd still recommend replacing a PS4 controller battery if you have a dead controller. It's not too hard.